This cut looks like more than a simple numbers move. It points directly to how much Carolina values Adam Thielen. On the surface, releasing Hunter Renfrow might seem like a routine roster trim, but when you look closer, there's a bigger story hiding underneath. Renfrow was a former Pro Bowler making a comeback after battling ulcerative colitis, and the Panthers already had 7 wide receivers locked into spots. Dropping him didn't free up significant cap space, so if this were just math, the move wouldn't add up. Instead, it tells us something deeper about Carolina's priorities. In this video, we'll break down what happened with Renfrow, why it matters for Thielen, and how one cut signals the direction of the Panthers' rebuild. So the real question becomes, how can cutting a wide receiver who clawed his way back from illness actually be about someone else entirely? Renfrow's exit in Carolina wasn't really a reflection of his effort or talent. It was about something bigger going on with the Panthers. His release points beyond his own comeback and toward what the team decided to prioritize as they shaped their roster. It helps to remember where Renfrow was coming from. Just 3 years ago, he went to the Pro Bowl with the Raiders after building a reputation as one of the league's most dependable slot receivers. Across 5 seasons in Las Vegas, he caught 269 passes for 2,884 yards and 17 touchdowns before his career took a sharp turn. In 2023, he battled ulcerative colitis, a condition that forced him to miss the entire season and caused his weight to drop from his playing weight around 185 pounds down to about 150. At one point, retirement was on the table. The fact that he managed to put himself back into NFL shape and fight for a roster spot at all was a story in itself. By the time he arrived at Panthers camp, there were glimpses that the old Renfrow was resurfacing. His trademark route running drew praise from coaches, and teammates noted he was starting to regain the sharpness that once made him a tough player to cover. But while those flashes built intrigue, his actual preseason results were modest. He finished with 4 catches for 12 yards across Carolina's exhibition games. That limited production paired with a crowded receiver room put him in a difficult spot when cut-down day arrived. The numbers game was simple on paper. Carolina already had 7 receivers wanted to carry into Week 1. Several of them were younger players the front office views as part of the team's long-term foundation, and a few were rookies they're determined to develop quickly. That meant Renfrow was competing not just against performance, but against the organization's strategic commitment to youth. For a player trying to prove he still belonged, that left little room, no matter how good his story was. Here's where the connection to Adam Thielen comes into focus. If Carolina were seriously preparing to trade away their top veteran receiver, keeping Renfrow as insurance would have been the logical move. He could have slid right into the role of a reliable safety valve for Bryce Young, while the rookies adjusted to real NFL speed. Instead, the team cut him loose. Multiple outlets, including ESPN and Sports Illustrated, noted that decision as a sign Carolina doesn't expect to move Thielen anytime soon. It wasn't confirmation, it was interpretation. But in the NFL, what teams choose to subtract can be as revealing as who they choose to keep. The Panthers didn't release Renfrow to balance the cap or free up some long-term financial flexibility. Reporting hasn't connected the decision to money at all. Cutting him was about confidence in Thielen's place within the team's plans. By moving on from their most obvious veteran fallback, the Panthers effectively broadcast to the rest of the league that their commitment to Thielen is strong, so if another team wants him, the price isn't going to come cheap. That's why Renfrow's release matters. It wasn't just the end of one player's comeback bid. It was a signal about who Carolina intends to anchor its receiving core around. And it sets up the real question facing the team right now. How does Adam Thielen's presence reshape both the trade market and the Panthers' approach to this rebuild? That's where the story turns next. Adam Thielen stands at the center of Carolina's plan, not as trade bait, but as the anchor they've chosen to build around. Rumors of a reunion with Minnesota or a move to another contender have floated around for months, but the Panthers' actual decisions tell us more than any headline. Keeping Thielen while cutting Renfrow sent a clearer signal than any press conference ever could. Look at where Thielen is in his career. He's a veteran at 35, beyond the age when receivers are usually featured on a rebuilding roster. From a distance, it would have made sense for Carolina to flip him for a draft pick and dive headfirst into their youth movement. Yet reporting consistently framed Carolina as driving a hard bargain, with insiders saying they were asking for significant compensation in any deal. That's an important distinction. The team didn't shut the door on offers, but they also refused to sell low. For a rebuilding organization, that restraint says a lot about how much they believe Thielen matters to their process. Now add Renfrow's release into the equation. Cutting him removed what many analysts saw as the most straightforward fallback option if Thielen were moved. Without that insurance, the Panthers effectively raised the asking price on their veteran receiver, because losing him now would create a hole no rookie is ready to fill. Multiple outlets characterize that dynamic as a strategic effect. By letting Renfrow go, Carolina made any trade for Thielen more complicated, and therefore more expensive. At the same time, ESPN noted that Renfrow technically remains eligible for the practice squad if both sides see value in keeping him around, so the door isn't closed entirely. But for now, Carolina's actions showed intent. Thielen isn't disposable. Consider how crowded the receiver room already is. Carolina kept 7 receivers on the initial 53-man roster: Thielen, Tatero, and McMillan, Xavier Legette, Jimmy Horn Jr., Jalen Coker, David Moore, and Bryson Tremaine. That's an unusually deep group for a team still shaping its roster, and it highlights how deliberate the Panthers were in choosing to hold on to their veteran. Even with rookies like Legette and McMillan demanding targets and reps, the team still carved out a spot for Thielen, confirming his value isn't just about production, it's about stability. And that stability is exactly what the front office needs right now. With Bryce Young entering his second season, surrounding him with only rookies would have been a risk. Thielen provides a reference point for what professional looks like day in and day out. Reports from Cat Crave and ESPN emphasize this leadership dimension, noting how his example in preparation, film study, and practice habits sets a standard for the younger players. In that sense, he's not just catching passes, he's teaching by showing. For a roster built on development, that may matter more than any stat line. So why hang on to him when trading might yield future assets? Because Carolina seems to believe his short-term impact outweighs the uncertain returns of a mid-round pick. If young receivers like McMillan and Legette accelerate faster than expected, the team could revisit trade options down the road and command a better offer. But right now, moving him too quickly would strip away a layer of security they can't replace. That Thielen's presence also changes how trade rumors function. Instead of treating them as signs of an imminent departure, the Panthers are using them as leverage. Every report of Minnesota making a call or another contender asking about availability only strengthens their stance. If another team wants him, they'll have to pay a premium. Until then, he anchors the wide receiver core, giving structure to an otherwise volatile group in transition. What emerges is less about nostalgia or loyalty and more about strategy. Carolina isn't prioritizing him because he's a fan favorite. They're prioritizing him because his role sharpens the rebuild. His leadership steadies the locker room. His experience helps Bryce Young, and his value on the field keeps pressure off untested rookies. That layered importance is why releasing Renfrow wasn't simply about depth. It was about making clear that Thielen is central to their plan. And when you view the cut from that angle, it reframes the entire conversation about Carolina's rebuild. Renfrow's exit reads as more than a routine depth cut. It feels like a statement that Carolina isn't eager to move Adam Thielen unless the price is high. The decision effectively shut down the idea of Renfrow stepping in as a replacement, showing just how much the Panthers value Thielen's role on a roster full of unproven receivers. So here's the question for you. If you were in the GM's chair, would you trade a proven veteran like Thielen for picks, or keep him to stabilize a young quarterback? Like if you want more roster deep dives, subscribe for business-minded NFL breakdowns, and drop your GM decision in the comments. Carolina just revealed where their King Thielen stands.